The Maple Leafs pulled off a big win last night over the Ottawa Senators. The team clinched the first-round series and are now set to take on those Florida Panthers. The CBC's Clara Pasica joins us from Maple Leaf Square. And Clara, how are fans feeling today?
Well, Dwight, loyal fans that I'm speaking with here in Maple Leaf Square are just overjoyed, absolutely elated at this victory, and maybe a little bit relieved. This was a 4-2 win over the Ottawa Senators, so certainly a decisive victory. And the Leafs did it in Game 6, not pushing the series till Game 7. Of course, wasn't a full sweep of this series. They did make fans a little nervous and not being able to come through in the last Game 5, but here we are in Game 6, and the fans just elated that this is the final outcome of this series. Have a listen.
Oh, it was just a roller coaster, right, of emotions. But like I said, at the end, they prevailed, and they have a strong team this year. So hopefully this is it, man. We can go to the finals.
I stayed up and watched it, and then I had to work till 2 a.m. So it was worth it. It was worth it. Thank goodness.
Hopefully it goes better against Florida this time around than it did last time. But I think it's a different team. They look a lot better. They play a more playoff-style hockey. So I'm excited.
Now, next, the Leafs will face off against Florida, and we know that this could be a tough team. Many Leafs fans are telling me, but they're ready to cheer on this team. Of course, we know that last night there was pretty wet Maple Leaf Square, but people stuck it out for this team, cheering them on. And many people I'm speaking to saying, even though they know that, it could be tough against Florida, they believe that this is the year that the Leafs are going to do something that has not been done, well, in my whole lifetime and in many lifetimes of many fans. They're saying this is the year that we're going to get right to the Stanley Cup. So they're ready to cheer on this team. They're ready to see what unfolds next. And many of that cheering on is going to happen from right here at Maple Leaf Square and in homes and bars and other places right across this fine city.
You are not wrong, Ms. Clara Pasica. I was born the year after they last won, so in many of our lifetimes, we have not seen a Leaf Cup. So let's go, Leafs. Thank you, Clara. General Motors is cutting shifts at its Oshawa assembly plant starting this fall. More than 700 employees will be affected. Dale Manukduk is following the developing story for us now. Dale, what do we know so far?
Yeah, Dwight, GM confirms that it is making this change, moving from a 3-shift operation to a 2-shift operation here at the assembly plant in Oshawa. Here, there's 3,000 employees. We're told by the union that 750 of them will lose their jobs this fall. It's unclear what the specific date is, but it is clear that this is a result of the trade war launched by U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, in addition to those 750 jobs, Dwight, we're also told by the union that 1,500 uniform members who work across the automotive parts supply chain could also lose their jobs. Have a listen.
It is a very emotional day here in Oshawa. We are devastated with this decision by General Motors. We feel it's completely unjust because we have a truck that's built with high quality productivity here by our membership. The sales do not support losing a 3rd shift. We know some of our volumes are being moved to the United States, and that's being done directly in accordance with Donald Trump and his disastrous tariff policies.
Now, these cuts come as no surprise to industry insiders who had been bracing for the impacts of Donald Trump's tariffs. He launched a 25% tariff, or slapped one rather, on all vehicle imports to the United States last month. General Motors says that this change is being made specifically due to the evolving trade environment. It says that it's been building cars in Canada since 1918. It's implementing a plan to ensure that cars continue to be built here for the next 100+ years. It also says it'll be working with partners to support workers through the transition. But here's what we're hearing from one of the members of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association.
What we're seeing here is General Motors has a plant in Fort Wayne, Indiana that makes the same product. And, they hired 400 new people a few weeks ago and shut down last week for a week to reconfigure the line to help to accommodate this. I know that the people at GM Canada are Canadians that are fighting for that footprint because they're fighting for their own jobs as well.
We are hearing from a lot of political leaders. Obviously, this news is making waves throughout the country. Ontario Premier Doug Ford posting to social media today that this is a devastating day for Oshawa GM assembly plant employees and their families, saying that during these uncertain economic times caused by President Trump's chaos, the tariffs, the tariff threats, that Ontario will continue to fight and attract new investment. We're also hearing from Prime Minister Mark Carney, who gave his first press conference today. Here's what he had to say.
I'll just express my deepest sympathy for them and their families. A very difficult time. We are committed to supporting workers. All the dollars from our tariffs going to support workers. Fighting hard for our auto sector, all our sectors in these negotiations with the Americans, and making sure that companies act in true partnership as well in maintaining employment and investment in Canada. And if not, there will be consequences for those companies.
Now, this is exactly what Prime Minister Mark Carney was elected to do. This was the mandate he was given by Canadians during the election on Monday. We know that he's headed to Washington to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday. So who knows where things will stand after that meeting. But Dwight, we know that this will also have an impact on the businesses around the GM plant. I've spoken to several restaurants. They say that their lunch rushes could be affected, their dinner rushes as well, where there's a safety gear store just around the corner. We have 750 employees that will lose their jobs this fall, and perhaps 1,500 across the automotive parts supply chain that could be in jeopardy as well. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, and you're right, Dale. It is connected to the wider community out there. Dale Manukduk in Oshawa. Thank you, Dale.
Last time I checked, there hasn't been any judges elected. Maybe that's the problem. We should do what the U.S. does. Let's start electing our judges.
Doug Ford is right. We don't elect judges in Ontario or Canada, but should we and could we?
We would get constitutional challenges very quickly.
We'll explain could it change in a sec, but it's clear the opposition doesn't think we should.
The judiciary are not there to further our agenda. They're independent.
When the Premier starts talking like this, it's dangerous.
Many lawyers don't think we should either.
It's based on merit, so people can't spend money to become a judge.
I'm sure the Premier knows that these are not realistic options that are constitutionally available.
Is it even possible to elect judges in Canada and Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a long answer to that.
Technically, yes. In Canada, the federal government appoints appeals and Supreme Court judges as vacancies come up. Changing to elections would require a change to Canada's constitution.
Constitutional amendment is not an easy thing in this country.
And the feds haven't suggested any intention to do it, so let's keep it moving. Provincial governments handle appointments to provincial courts, so could potentially try to change provincial law to elect those judges. And even if a provincial government wanted to make this change, there would likely be a constitutional challenge against that change.
Well, I think that's right. We already have in the Charter a provision that says if we're talking about a criminal case of some kind, the accused is entitled to a decision by an impartial and independent tribunal. And it seems to me then that electing judges would be incompatible with that provision.
Two main pillars of judicial independence in the Constitution are one, something called security of tenure, ensuring judges can't be fired, particularly for decisions a government doesn't like. And two, financial security, ensuring judges have fixed pay, reducing the chance of financial influence.
You know, one of these judges that are bleeding hearts, I can't wait till they retire. Matter of fact, I'll pay him to retire earlier.
Ford's ideas here, even getting a rare public rebuke from Ontario's 3 Chief Justices. Check this letter out. They write judges must be free to decide each case on its own merits without interference or influence of any kind from any source, including, they write, politicians.
If judges are subject to election and campaigning and have a limited term in which they then seek re-election, then of course they may do what we hear, and I consider these to be horror stories from the United States, where judges run on their conviction rate. Look how many people I convict. Well, that should not be a factor in determining whether a judge is doing a good job in some way. A judge should be deciding whether somebody really did commit the offense or not.
That's my rant for the day, because I've just had it.
For now, Ford says he was elected to appoint tough on crime judges, and that's what he's going to keep on doing.